Welcome to Charity Therapy, the podcast where we explore the ups and downs of the nonprofit sector and answer your burning questions. I'm your host, Jess Birkin, owner of Birkin Law Office, and I'm excited you're here. Imagine hanging out with me and my super smart, funny nonprofit expert pals. You get to ask them anything about your nitty-gritty nonprofit life and get their wisdom for free. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just strapping on your nonprofit boots, we're here to share stories and remind you you're not alone on this journey. So get ready to join the conversation and bring me the tough questions. I ain't scared. Ready to rock? Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to this episode of Charity Therapy. Today, I am joined by my friend, Jeff Beck. He's a wealth advisor at COE Financial Group. Jeff, thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So, Jeff, before we kind of jump into the meat and potatoes here, I have, okay, first of all, I feel like reporter on the street. If you're watching this on video ever someday, I'm literally holding my microphone because I just broke my microphone before we started recording. So I feel ridiculous right now. Like we're in some cartoon where I'm about to put my microphone over to you, but we're on the Zoom, so I'm just gonna look silly. All right. So before we jump in, I want to know, you are obviously working with folks who maybe are thinking about retirement, maybe thinking about leaving a legacy, and maybe thinking about how their wealth could benefit nonprofits. And I'm wondering, what are some of the ways that you tend to see or that you advise people that they can contribute to the nonprofits or to the issues and the causes that they care about?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a thought that there's a lot of loopholes and different things that you can do to take advantage of doing this. But honestly, the kind of short answer is it's really just kind of the traditional way that most people do it. It's you receive your paycheck, you pay taxes, you have money in your checking, savings, or taxable account, and you want to donate to a charity or a nonprofit, and you just send in your check, send in your donation. And at the end of the year, when you're filing taxes, you're getting a tax deduction, depending on how you file and how you set things up. You're getting a tax deduction at the end of the year, and that's really kind of the simple answer of it. There's a couple small things that we'll probably jump into here shortly, but that is really the traditional way that clients are going about it.
Yeah. I mean, just a straight up donation is a great place to start. Absolutely. So, okay. Are you ready for this question? Because I feel like this question's a little bit of a doozy, which is why I called you in. So, are you prepared?
I hope so. Let's do
All
it.
right, here we go. My partner has a traditional IRA with about $100,000 in it. My understanding of IRAs is that you can choose where to invest the money in it. So she could use the money in her IRA and invest it in my 501(c)(3) without penalties? Or do we need to set up a for profit company for her IRA to invest in first? Either way, I'm imagining we could have modest returns for her. Also, are there IRS rules against her investing in something I founded and run? We've been together for 20 years but aren't married. I don't want to accidentally mess up our tax exempt status. Okay. I yeah, there's a lot going on here, Jeff. So I think maybe the starting place is for anybody who actually doesn't know what an IRA is. Maybe we start there.
Yeah. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah. So an IRA, an individual retirement account, it's a way for individuals to save for their retirement. It's a pre tax vehicle. So you're putting your money in before you're paying any taxes on that money. And then it's growing tax deferred when you do take qualified distributions. So when you're allowed to actually take distributions from there, that's when you pay the taxes. So instead of, having to pay additional taxes if you're in a high tax bracket today, you're kind of deferring those taxes to somewhere down the line.
Gotcha. So, all right, now that that's out of the way, uh, can you choose to invest the money that's in your had never heard of that before, which is why I called you because you're the financial person. So, like, is that a thing? You can invest, you can make choices about where your IRA funds are invested?
Yeah, so I think the starting point with it, I hear a lot of times from clients, they might say, "Well, I have an IRA, there's a Roth IRA, I have a CD at the bank." And they'll say, "Well, what does the IRA earn in interest compared to the CD?" And what I try to explain to them is that those are simply the vehicles in which the money's held, but inside of that vehicle, we can invest in different things. So that kind of thought process to the question is correct. We can have a traditional IRA open and we could invest all of that money. I think you said $100,000. We could invest $100,000 into Apple stock. We could take $100,000 and we could invest it into the S&P index fund. So there's a wide range of investment options available inside of your IRA. Typically, those are traditional investments, which are stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs. Those are kind of your traditional investments that are available. So I think the best way to probably start it would be to go into a secondary option with IRAs. So the way that the question was phrased about maybe opening up a for-profit business, I think that could be a potential avenue for this potential listener. There are
Okay,
what
wait,
you
wait.
call. Yep.
I'm going to stop you there.
Okay.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is yes, you can make choices about where the dollars that are in your IRA are invested. And where I feel like you're about to go is that if you start a company, a for-profit company, we're not touching the nonprofit piece yet. A for-profit company, your own IRA fund could like purchase shares in your company. That's a privately held company, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, you're spot on with it. Yeah, basically a typical traditional IRA is going to be held on a platform with a certain custodian. There are certain custodians that offer what they call a self-directed IRA.
Yeah. And
And
you're going to pay
that's
extra for that, is my understanding. Like,
yeah, you might be. I don't know all the fees in that. We don't do any self-directed IRAs, at our company that we work with, but I have had clients that are interested in investing in a private company. The main things people do, I would say, are private companies, real estate, and precious metals. Those are
yeah.
probably
Or if you're
maybe
like a big Bitcoin wonk and you want to
there you go.
like
Yeah,
buy stock in MicroStrategy or one of the like chip computer builders for miners or something like that, that makes sense to me.
you got it. Yep, those are probably the four most common things I hear about. So I think the one client I recently worked with was a real estate thing. Some private real estate deal, they wanted to be able to invest in it. Doing a self-directed IRA allows you to invest in some of these alternative investment options outside of your traditional investment options. So that's where when the listener mentioned maybe opening up a for-profit company, I don't know now how the charity and for-profit would figure things out. That might be something they'll
That
go
makes two
through,
of us,
but
Jeff. That makes two of us.
but in theory, the for-profit, that would be something you could have the self-directed IRA and you could invest into a for-profit company and you could do that without paying taxes or penalties on that IRA money.
Okay, so let's just stick with this is like your lane, right? I'm gonna get in my lane in a minute, but like, would you actually, if like, my brain just recoils at the idea that you would take your retirement fund, that you would have a startup, that you would then take your retirement money and invest it into the pioneering costs of a brand new for-profit company, therefore risking your retirement funds on this very speculative investment in your company that you own that may or may not succeed versus leaving it in an index fund where we know like number go up over time. Like, would you actually want someone to do this just based on the limited facts we have here?
I mean, this sounds like it is your lane. I feel like you're right on top of it. That's a great question. The way I share it with clients, with a lot of these things are private deals. There's not a lot of information for people to read, so they might be handed some kind of brochure or something they can read through. I'll try and take a look for the client. And this does not come up often. These are kind of very rare situations, but I'll take a look and I'll tell them, it's your money at the end of the day, so you do get to choose what you want to do with it. I would just caution that if you do this, that we keep it to a certain percentage of your portfolio. So maybe 10% is kind of the high end that I would go with. To your point, yeah, I mean it's a startup company. There's a lot of risk involved, and this is your life savings that you've been building for however many years for your retirement. We want to be a little cautious with it. I understand wanting to see some potential upside, but we definitely have to be cautious. So yeah, you're right. It's risky, and you just have to know what you're getting into.
I'm like, "Where's this partner?" Because this person says we've been together for 20 years but aren't married, and I'm like, "Honey, you sweet summer child, your significant other is trying to take your retirement funds and invest in their fly-by-night company." I have questions. I have more questions. I'm like, "Are you the kind of person who just fritters away all of your significant other's money and this is the last holdout and we're looking for how to get access to." I mean, this I'm being rude and cynical, but like you're not married to this person. Why would you let them take your direct your I think that's crazy town. And whoever you are, if you're out there, you need to call Jeff. Or whoever the partner is with this IRA, you need to be calling Jeff and getting some advice because this smells like a bad idea to me. Okay, so let's go to the nonprofit piece because this person says, can she use the money in her IRA and invest it in a 501(c)(3)? Well, first of all, nonprofit public charities, one of the requirements for being a public charity is that there are no shareholders, there are no dividends, there are no owners. Therefore, there is not really anything to invest in. And yes, there are complex, very advanced baseball ways that people may, you know, let's say Broadway productions, theaters that are nonprofits, and they bring in people to invest and split the proceeds of the theater, the box office sales, things like that, or perhaps like a real estate deal. That is extremely advanced baseball and all has to be managed very carefully with contracts that are written in such a way that preserves the public charities tax exempt status because nobody owns a nonprofit. And I did not do the research for this before this episode. Obviously, I'm just going on the fly here, but there's got to be an IRS issue with you somehow taking your own money or your significant other's money, putting it into a charity in some way, and then getting a yield for yourself because it sounds like the finagling partner who wants to gain access to her IRA is somehow on the board or involved at a high level with this 501(c)(3). Guarantee that is not going to be okay. That's going to be some sort of impermissible private inurement, private benefit, creating a very bad problem for you if the IRS ever finds out. So I don't see any way in this sounds like not an advanced baseball situation where an investor in a nonprofit would make sense to me. So
Yeah,
I don't, yeah.
all that stuff. That is your lane totally. If there's any possibilities in doing that, to your point, I don't think that that's really something very possible. To have an investor and receive any kind of yield. There is one way we work with clients where they can make charitable donations with their retirement account that is more tax efficient, but it's kind of a very fairly unique situation when you can actually do that. There's one option for that, but to your point, as far as investing, receiving a return, yeah, I don't know the ins and outs of that.
And certainly I don't, I'm not, you need to correct me if I'm wrong. You can't just take the money from an IRA and contribute it to a nonprofit. Like you'd be taking a draw essentially.
Yeah, you're exactly right. So the scenario where it comes up is basically being over age 70 and a half is where you can do this efficiently. And 70 and a half is a little background. having an individual retirement account, the IRS has implemented required minimum distributions, which
Yeah.
originally were done at 70 and a half, right? So you have to start taking distributions each year so they can receive their tax dollars. So it's still set at 70 and a half, even though the RMD age has gone up. 70 and a half, that is when you can make direct charitable donations and you don't have obviously any penalty because you're of age, but you don't have to pay the income tax on it. So if you're essentially in a position where you're very comfortable, you maybe have pension, social security, you have your income sources covered, and you don't need this money, you don't want to pay additional taxes, you can send that money directly to a charity,
Okay.
nonprofit, and then you don't have to pay the taxes on that, and that will count as your required minimum distribution.
I
So
love
that's
that.
the one spot you can do that is over 70 and a half. So our older clients get that option to be able to do that.
I did not even know that existed because I am nowhere near that age. So I love that we just learned that. That sounds wonderful. That sounds like a great way to tax advantage and make a gift. That sounds so legitimate and not scammy at all. I love that for those people.
Yeah.
So I don't love really anything about this listener's plan. I'm not I I'm very worried for the girlfriend. Yeah, I think they said she. I'm very worried for the girlfriend. I don't think it's a good idea to empty your retirement account to invest in your boyfriend's for-profit company. And unless you actually have the age, if you're eligible to make a distribution to a charity and you are financially set and you don't need that money and you don't want anyone to inherit it, because that's the other thing. If you don't use the money, you can leave it to your children. Just saying,
Yeah.
boomers. The millennials and down are hurting. So think
Yeah.
of us. But I don't love this idea for the girlfriend. I the
I
listener is not the girlfriend. I'm so sorry, guy,
I
but
love that's your biggest take. I was just concerned on the different pieces, like how can we make this work? And you're just like, this plan just sounds like trouble all the way through.
I'm
through.
just
Now that
like,
you're saying it, I'm like,
why are you
I
trying
feel
to why is this the last bastion of her funds that you haven't gotten your sticky fingers on yet? Like, what is happening? Why is this even a conversation?
well, and to your point, they're yeah, $100,000 IRA. Odds are you're not in a position that you don't need that money for yourself or want to leave it behind.
Yeah.
I work with a wide variety of clients, and very few of them are at a point in their lives where they're just like, "Hey, I have this money to spare and give to that much money." Right? We
Yep.
we all make our donations and stuff throughout years, whatever. But that much money to just say, my kids don't need it, we don't need it, where they can give that much away. So,
Yeah.
typically that is for some, higher income earners or,
Yeah.
high net
Yep.
worth people.
I love
So yeah,
that. You're like deductive reasoning, $100,000 IRA, you can't afford to do this.
probably
Yeah.
not.
And if they've been together for 20 years, let's say maybe they're 40, if they got together when they were 20 and they've been together 20 years, hey, if you're 40 and you got 100K in your IRA, you're not done. Don't be risking those
No,
dollars,
no,
okay?
we need to
Um,
save.
that's such a good insight there. Yeah. She can't afford it, friend. She cannot afford it. Please do the right thing and protect this faithful partner's retirement funds and just leave it alone.
Leave it alone, let it grow. Index fund, something safe.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I was like so amped up about this. I didn't even think about what our takeaways are. I think first of all, you know, life is not a buffet. Nonprofits are not a buffet. They are not just like a thing where you can pick and choose the pieces that you want when you want it. And the whole enchilada has to be eaten. Sorry. So that's takeaway number 1. And then, number 2 is really don't forget your fiduciary duty. I didn't use that word previously, but like you need to do what's in the best interest for the nonprofit. If you are the founder and you run it, you're on the board, you need to do what's in the best interest of the nonprofit and frankly, your personal fiduciary duty to your partner. is to do what's in her best interest. So I think that's takeaway number 2 is like, even if something would benefit the nonprofit, don't hurt yourself, right?
Mhm.
And I've seen way too many nonprofit founders hurt themselves by, over giving in various ways to a new nonprofit. So don't do that. And then I think third is, your retirement fund is serious. And probably you should not be talking to a nonprofit lawyer about what to do with your retirement fund. You should be calling somebody like Jeff. That's my take on takeaway number 3, because this is somebody's nest egg. This is their long-term strategy, and it's not something that you should be asking me about first. It's something you should be asking somebody like Jeff about first. Is there anything else there, Jeff? Do you think I missed anything?
No, I think that's, really fantastic. I think, yeah, to kind of recap that from our perspective on the financial end is, we love people doing things, giving back, participating in charities, that's fantastic. It just reminds me of, having all these travel plans I just had that were delayed hours and hours, putting your life vest on before you help somebody else. I think that's the biggest thing. We want our clients to be able to do that. We want them to do what they're passionate about with their money. Our job is a fiduciary for them is to make sure that they're taken care of first before we do these other things. And I think the way you put that is exactly right. It's get that in order, do that, and then we can look at these different things. You mentioned your serious money. Most of my clients have their serious money, and we have some fun money, but the fun money is a much smaller amount than the serious money. So we just have to keep all that in mind, no matter what good we're trying to do, we're hoping to do. We just have to keep that in mind.
Yeah, love it. Jeff, thank you so much for being here today. If folks want to connect with you, how can they get in touch?
Yeah, you can go to our website, cofinancial.com. There's all our information right there on the website, which is great. My email address is just jeff at cofinancial.com. And my phone number is 847-737-3281. And we are always available. Absolutely.
Awesome. Awesome. And we'll put all that in the show notes. Folks, if you enjoyed this episode, do me a huge favor, share it with a friend. If you know somebody who's looking for creative ways to empty their retirement fund, share this with them, okay? They might need you to be a good friend to them right now. If you know a nonprofit founder who's dumping all of their last dollars into a new nonprofit and you need to have an intervention, this is good listening. Okay. Rate, review, subscribe on your podcast app. It really does help people find the show. And if you have a question or a story to share, I'll try not to be salty with your story and I'll keep it anonymous. So if I am salty and sassy, no one will know it was about you. So send me a note online at charitytherapy.show. And thanks for listening.